going to get straight into the meeting, and just to welcome Ronan and Brian from the Royal College of Surgeons, who are just giving us a presentation on their works in York Street. And just to be clear, this is separate from our own works in Glover Street and all of that. Okay, Brian and Ronan, you're very welcome, and I'll go straight into you.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. Ronan Baxter's my name. I'm the Director of Estates at the Royal College of Surgeons. So we're delighted to have the opportunity to present, I suppose, to the councillors this afternoon our vision for York Street, I suppose, and the results of the fruits of some great collaboration that we've had recently with colleagues in Dublin City Council. It's an exciting time for RCSI. We have, just on our holding slide, you can see this is our newest building, 118 St Stephen's Green. Brian Shields, my colleague here, will talk to that in a bit more detail at the end. But this is the building due to open imminently in the next couple of weeks, and first, reliably informed, it's the first new building to be built on St Stephen's Green since 1804. So very exciting times. So I suppose today the focus of this update really is just to talk to the councillors about our vision for the street, and just a bit about RCSI. For those of you who might not know who we are, RCSI has had a very long, unbroken presence on York Street for over 200 years, since the first college building was built at the top of York Street and St Stephen's Green back in 1810. Since then, RCSI has gone on to, I suppose, consistently be ranked among the top universities in the world, and currently we're within the top 250 universities. We're also ranked number one currently in the UN SDGs of all universities for good health and well-being, which is obviously a key focus for RCSI as a health sciences institution. Our numbers over the years have grown. As of this year, we have over 8,700 registered students across undergraduate and postgraduate programs, and that, I suppose, represents a huge economic benefit for Dublin and the country as a whole, and indeed a social and health contribution as well. Since really over the last 10, 11 years, RCSI has invested a lot coming out of the recession. We hadn't invested in a long period of time, and we've invested over 300 million in the last 10 years in our physical infrastructure, our main campus being at St Stephen's Green, and across some of the hospital sites that are part of RCSI Hospital Group. And as I mentioned, very shortly in the next month or so, we will open the doors of our new building at 118 St Stephen's Green. So a bit about York Street. I suppose if you wind back the clock, 30, 40 years ago, RCSI was a one building institution on the north of York Street. That's our building, our historic building at 123 St Stephen's Green, which was added to over the years. But since then, the college and the university has grown, and it's grown. I suppose that we've moved south of York Street. So we're a busy campus, as I say, on a given day, and we've tracked this. We have over during term time, we have in excess of 5,000 pedestrian movements over and back across York Street, moving from the main college building across to a building at 26 York Street, which houses our library, and that will increase further now with the new building that's opening in the next number of weeks. What we've seen in that period as well is increased traffic volumes on the street, and a lot of the traffic that passes through, and indeed the majority of the traffic that passes through York Street isn't doing business as such on the street. It's passing through, and it's seen as, I suppose, a bit of a shortcut to avoid other busy junctions. There's limited greenery and soft landscaping on the street. There's nowhere to sit. We have no pedestrian crossings. So it's quite a hostile environment in terms of, we're not a hostile group, by the way, but it's a hostile environment for pedestrians and people using the public realm there. We have had ongoing challenges with antisocial behaviour, and we've worked closely with Dublin City Council and the Gardaí in that regard, but it's an ongoing challenge. And I suppose back in December 2023, we made a proposal, quite a detailed proposal to the draft Dublin City transport plan around our vision for pedestrianisation plan for York Street. Since early this year, then, we've had suppose, a renewed engagement with our colleagues in DCC around how best to go around, I suppose, a phased approach to achieving this vision. So just some images of the street. You can see the image in the bottom left is our library building, and then other buildings which have been there, since our original building back 200 years and added on subsequently. You can see we have a lot of bollards, with motorbikes that park along the footpath, and again, it's not a very welcoming street. Indeed, if you walk down York Street, if you might not know that RCSI were based there, it was our main campus, you might not know that you're walking through essentially a city centre university campus. So part of the vision then, you can see the difference between the two slides, vibrancy, colour, and we've benchmarked against other institutions that are based in city centres to see how they've gone about this. Big part of it is the introduction of greenery, planted areas, some areas to sit, places to rest on the street, and the reduction of traffic volumes and elimination of traffic as a long-term plan. So our vision, and we've kind of approached this, that we would have a three-stage phased approach to achieving this. In the short term, and starting from this month, we'd see additional greenery in York Street with the addition of planters, new seating and rest areas, again, along the street, cutting back some of the trees which have overgrown, and the removal of, I suppose, unnecessary clutter along the street. So a lot of bollards that won't be required with the addition of the planters, and other redundant street furniture that can be removed. And again, I suppose in terms of the traffic and the pedestrian safety, introduction of a number of pedestrian crossings along the street, and we've had consultation with colleagues in the council and the various departments around this. So this part of the vision is starting. We say this is the low-hanging fruit, and this is going to start imminently in the next couple of weeks. Then the medium-term vision for the street would be a further upgrade of Prouds Lane, which is again a small laneway and quite a lot of antisocial behaviour there. So to review how we could upgrade Prouds Lane, and further traffic restrictions on the street, leading to a long-term vision where we would really love to see the pedestrianisation of a large part of York Street. And again, that links in with RCSI's vision, I suppose, as a world-leading university to create, they have an RCSI medical quarter area. And again, we see this would benefit RCSI, but also would be a huge benefit to the local area. We see, as a rising tide, etc. So we'd see that these benefits are not mutually exclusive to RCSI. As part of our design for stage one, and we've recruited the help of a firm of architects to help us with this, and working closely with the team in DCC. So we see the addition of seating, again very robust materials with concrete planters, concrete seating, steel planters, and this would provide an area for people to sit along the street. And just the plan here, if I may take the pointer. You can see here that where the pointer is there at the moment, that's the entrance to the main RCSI College building, which is on the north of York Street, 123 St Stephen's Green. And over here is our library building, so there's a huge amount of movement over and back across the street. We see that there's quite a lot of traffic that goes up and down the street, oftentimes in excess of what would be permitted. So as part of the plan, we have a pedestrian crossing provided here, and the idea is that the pedestrian crossing will calm the traffic in the section in between, because our students won't necessarily, well, we'd hope that they'd use the crossings, but oftentimes they go for the shortest route across. And then these large planters here will have the seats incorporated, and a number of smaller planters, again with seating incorporated along the north side of the street, where the footpath is deeper. And then on the south side of the street, additional planting to be provided, again additional greenery to enliven this, to I suppose enhance the public realm in the street, and planters then at the top of the street. So that's part of the design pack. And again, just this slide just shows the pedestrian movements over and back. So we have a huge volume of pedestrians over and back, and indeed it's a busy street, not just for RCSI staff and students, but for members of the local community as well. So again, just some images of the I suppose renders of the how we would hope it might look, and we can see the pedestrian crossings. This is a view down towards Glover's Court, looking west across the street, and then an alternative view, and so it's our library building on the left of the screen. Again, just an image of some of the seating, the planting. These are very similar to other schemes that have been rolled out across the city recently, and just an aerial view of the design. So, in summary, our progress to date, we've had excellent collaboration between RCSI, the Estates Department, and Dublin City Council. So we very much appreciate that. We have had a long, ongoing relationship with our local community. We employ a lot of people from the local community, and we see this as building further on that engagement. The Stage 1 plan is, again, the pedestrian crossings and the planting will start this month, and we would like to conclude that work, or have that work completed to align with the opening of our new building. That's with our public gallery, which Brian will talk to in a moment. So the benefits as we see them, the public realm in the city centre this is an improvement for the entire city, for everybody that uses York Street. Safety is improved, especially, I suppose, pedestrian safety with the traffic calming measures. RCSI will fund the vast majority of this work, so it's a low cost public realm improvement, if that makes sense. And we see that the vibrancy on the street will be a counterweight to the antisocial behaviour. And you know, RCSI, we do work closely with the Gardaí, and we do have our own security personnel as well that maintain, I suppose, safety on campus as well for us. Again, we would like that there's a bit more recognition on the street, that you actually know that you know it's RCSI. So we see that that's important as well. RCSI is, I say, a very long and proud history in Dublin, and we'd like to see that come a bit more to the fore on the street. This proposal supports the Dublin City Development Plan, specifically sustainable mobility and transport policies within. And again, it underscores our commitment to sustainability, the city centre and the southeast area of the city centre in particular. So that's all from me. I think Brian would like to conclude, if that's okay, and then we're happy to take any questions or comments from councillors. Thank you.
Thank you, Ronan. Thank you, Chair, and thank you to all the councillors who are today and dialing in. Just suppose, if I just bring up the picture of, if you can, of the new building. So this is called Project Connect, and it links our building on 26 York Street to 118 on Stephen's Green. As Ronan said, it's our first build on Stephen's Green in over 200 years. It's 12,500 square metres, 7 stories, so it's 5 over 2 basement. At the very top, you'll see the viewing gallery with a fantastic vista of Dublin City. The building really, I suppose, is really for us. We're looking outwards. So on the ground floor, you'll have a public engagement space called the Humanarium Gallery, and that will be open to the general public to come in any day of the week. And we'll have exhibitions running over the 12 months, every quarter, different types of exhibitions. We see this is going to be a bit of a game changer for us, because we'll have schools, you know, that probably wouldn't have come into us before. Normally come in for Science Week, or they might come in for Heritage Week. So this will be open to everyone to come in any day of the week they want, and to engage with members of the gallery team then as well. I suppose really for next week, I suppose for us, really, you could say the rubber hits the road. We have nearly 800 new students arrive in RCSI. Some would know Dublin very well. Some is their first time ever in Dublin, indeed first time ever in Ireland. So really, I suppose the works we're doing on York Street is to lift the area, lift York Street, to soften a bit more, take away that concrete look that we've had. And I'm a great believer first impressions last, because we do have a lot of students that will come in with their families, and they're important contributors to the local economy then as well. But we just want to kind of continue this student experience, continue this kind of look and feel of a modern campus. So it's exciting for us for the next 6 to 12 months. We're very much looking forward to working with DCAC in partnership, because I know we've worked with Brian and Michelle and Claire French, and we've had great collaboration, and it's been very much an easy door to walk through for us. So again, I'd like to thank you all, and Chair, if anyone have any questions, we'll have to answer.
Okay, thanks very much. Before I just bring people in, can I just ask two not controversial questions myself? One, does DCC own all the footpaths that you're talking about, just to clarify that? And just a second question, I was passing by this building the other day, and it surprised me how much the modern building fitted in with the old buildings. I think the architects have been really clever in this. Who are the architects?
Henry J. Lyons.
Henry J. Lyons.
I just thought they were very clever. Okay, I see Mannix, and I'll just keep an eye on the...
Just to answer that question,
Yeah.
excuse me, Chair, yes, they're public footpaths, public ground.
They're all public, that's okay. Okay, thanks very much. Okay, Mannix, and I'll take, and Patrick and Fiona, and I'll take everybody, I see them. Okay, Mannix first.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you very much for the presentation. It's a very interesting presentation. You probably know I'm from the area. I know the area very well. I know the Royal College of Surgeons extremely well. And I also know, the community very well. And there was very little emphasis on the community in your presentation. By and large, this is a community area. This is a residential area. This is York Street. This is public domain. This is Dublin City Council. Over the last number of years, the Royal College of Surgeons have had plenty of opportunity to develop, and they've been given that facility when they knocked down York Street flats and rebuilt them. One of the rebuilding conditions there was that they would put an all-weather pitch on the roof of the building, which you have beside the apartment block, and you reneged on that one. In terms of the greening process, in your plan, you took away the vast amount of green spaces that were there in the old York Street flats. And I'm just getting into this particular situation because, when you talk about enhancement, again, you talk about students, and you come across as people who want to make a campus in the city centre area. Now, I don't mind a campus, but you need to put that plan, in play as to what you intend to do. This reminds me of the Google creep, of Google and the way they put a compound together. The Royal College of Surgeons have been in the area for an awful long time, but it took the Royal College of Surgeons an awful long time to reach out to that community. And when they did, they reached out to them as, as in a community service or outreach, when in actual fact they're neighbours. And I've written extensively on this. The Royal College of Surgeons is a business, it's not a hospital. And while it offers a little bit of, respite to the local community and it makes employment, which is all well and good, in my opinion, it has completely damaged the neighbourhood. You have a multi-storey car park there, which you opened onto York Street, which causes huge issues for the local people and the local community. But what I see here is, again, a situation where there's a grab, where the Royal College of Surgeons wish to turn this into a campus without any regard whatsoever. I would like to see Dublin City Council be the lead on this particular project, not only in this particular street, but in York Street, in Mercer Street, in Glover's Court, and in the surrounding area, which is chock-a-block with traffic, a lot of it emanating from your own car park and also from the car park, which is the shopping centre car park indeed. So while there's a big footfall there, the vast amount of people that are there are students. They don't engage with the community, to be honest. They go to the Swan Bar, and that's about the measure. The Royal College of Surgeons, I think, run an event, they run a dance, and it's fine. But I really think you need to up your divvy here, this is a business. It's a big, big, big business here, And I would be opposing you entirely unless you actually dealt with the community in a very, very different manner altogether. I'm actually flabbergasted that such a presentation has been given to us. I'm the local councillor. Did you engage with me? Did you engage with me? No, you didn't engage.
Councillor, that's why
Excuse
we're
me.
here today.
Let me finish. You didn't engage with me on any particular level. And in terms of engaging with the community, I didn't see any particular notice around this particular thing. Again, there's no input from the councillors. There doesn't seem to be much input from Dublin City Council roads and maintenance. And I've been going on and on and on about the dangers within the area. The antisocial behaviour in the area is absolutely drug dealing and criminality, which extends itself to St Stephen's Green, to White First Street, and the Gardaí have come in to deal with that situation. We're now dealing with a redevelopment of Glover's Court, which I think is going to be the premier precedent of this area. And from Glover's Court, hopefully the area will improve. But I think the Royal College of Surgeons, with all due respect to your ethos, and the way you've operated here, I think the fact that you didn't engage with me, the local councillor, and I didn't see any of this other than this morning, and I know what's going on, and I know the damage that you've actually done to the neighbourhood. I mean, can you explain to me, with all due respect, Chairman, I just finished now, can you explain to me a deal that you did whereby the York Street flats were pulled down, okay, you paid some money to the new block, which again has problems, but part of that situation and part of the greening strategy was that you would allow the top area of the New York Street apartments, which have green areas, and then there would be a major sports facility on the roof of the Royal College of Surgeons. Why was that omitted in the final plan? So, as I said, good luck to you. But I would be totally and absolutely opposed to the Royal College of Surgeons creating a compound and a kind of student compound and an education facility of this kind in this area without proper democracy, proper engagement with us, the local councils, and proper engagement with the business and the local community. What you're intending to do here, with all due respect, Dermot, is what Trinity College are trying to do in Pearse Street, where they want to swamp the whole area and turn it into a digital hub without any regard except a minor outreach. So I reject your plan, reject this entirely, and I find it very insulting indeed to me and to my family and to the people that I represent who haven't a clue that this is going on. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Flynn. Councillor Kinsella.
Thanks, Chair. Notwithstanding anything Councillor Flynn has just said, I do bow to his knowledge. He is the expert in this area and is the councillor in the area. So I take all that on board. That said, just a few small points to make. The first is to say that personally I welcome the international students that you bring into the area. I think they're great for the fabric of the city, so keep that up. Have you thought about, is there any accommodation plans in terms of, you must be having the same issues that all the colleges are having, is there any plans in terms of building student accommodation? You've addressed the public space area, which is good. And a completion date on the one on Stephen's Green, you may have said it. If you did say it, apologies. And finally, in terms of pedestrianising York Street, or your end of it, a timeline, 1 to 5 years, do the council look like they are going to make that happen? Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Connolly.
Thank you for the presentation. There's a lot of really exciting developments in terms of greening and improving the public realm, but my question builds on Councillor Kinsella's remarks, which is long-term, if it becomes a pedestrianisation of the road, is there a plan to keep a cycle path through there? Because as a cyclist, that's really important. And my question is on the humanitarium. You say it's open to the public, and I was just wondering if there's toilet facilities and if they're open to the public, or what's the plan for, like, how open? Are we talking by appointment or just open doors?
Thank you, Councillor Dunn.
Thank you, thank you, Chair, and thank you very much, gentlemen, for the presentation. And it's very interesting. I think that everybody in this chamber, we've been working for years to improve the public realm right across the city. Works have commenced around South Anne Street and that quarter. And I'm mentioning that because they have commenced after a period of public consultation. After plans were drawn up and they were put out on display, and the public had a right to be able to sort of put their input into it. Then it came back into this chamber, and sort of we further approved it. And that's how it works, improving the public realm. And don't think there's a shortcut to that. I respect Councillor Flynn's contribution on the basis that he's been born and reared in the York Street area and is an elected representative for that area. And I think the comments that he made about consultation with the local community is hugely important. But it also needs to go through that system of public consultation. So I'd be very interested to hear what the manager is saying and what our officials are saying about working together. Cooperation, love to see it. It's great to see cooperation, but it cannot substitute what is the procedures. And there always is a danger. As far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, the Royal College of Surgeons is a private company. Is it a public public company?
Okay, it's a charity. But keep on talking, because I don't, this tune,
But,
I just don't want this tune froze, so let's.
Okay, well,
yeah.
well, the question is it a publicly owned organisation, right? And if it is, I think you should be able to work well with Dublin City Council, even if it is private, to use that kind of expression. There's nothing whatsoever stopping you talking to our planners to get it done. Broadly, I think you'll find that this committee supports improving the public realm, but it's how it's done is going to be an important part of it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chair. I'm just making a presumption that it's a not-for-profit charity that probably has a company behind it because they have to nowadays. They can answer that, but I'm presuming that. Courtney, Councillor Kenny, just for yourself.
From Igo, thank you. And the presentation looks brilliant. The plans look really well laid out. The only question that I have is it says it's partially funded by RCSI and DCC. So what is the full cost breakdown that DCC is paying towards this? Because we have to be cognizant of that, how much we are spending. One of the things that I'll say as well is it says here, and I'm kind of echoing the feeling in the chamber, mainly pass through, most traffic is passed through using it as a shortcut, but I just think it's a little bit strange to use lorries and stuff like that when a lot of it is your own students. With the Q car park, they have RCSI cards that can be used to pay for the car park. So maybe reducing the amount of them that go out a year would also lead to cleaner emissions, a cleaner street, less unfriendly background. And I will say that I do agree, and it is true, there can be nothing put in place for community engagement. We have seen this before, the councillors are right, we've seen it with Pearse Street, we've seen it with the Silicon Docks, but one of the things that Trinity and that I will say Google were very good at is, I'd love to know if down the line you have any opportunity for, say, a community room. They're very good at reaching out to the schools. I mean, RCSI, I'm sure you have a fabulous STEM programme there. It'd be brilliant to get young kids involved in it because we know that's where jobs are going. So just anything EDI related also for a charitable organisation.
Thanks, Courtney. And I've nobody online, so I suppose for myself, this is one of those peculiar situations where I like the final product, but I don't like how you got there. And I think there are issues that Councillor Flynn and Councillor Dunn raised about your engagement with the local community, indeed your engagement with the local councillors. That seems not to have happened, and I think that's something that you need to take on board. But if you end it up after all that consultation with what's on the table here, I'd like it. But I think you do need to talk to the local community about it. I think, Councillor Flynn, you're right in that the local community have been let down, but they've been let down by Dublin City Council, not by the, well, I don't know, but I can't blame RCSI for Dublin City Council's failures, and I think it's good for the area that the RCSI stays there and develops, notwithstanding your comment about Trinity, probably a well-made comment. So the one thing I would say is I would encourage you from the RCSI to engage with the local community and to engage with the local councillors, because that's the best way of ensuring that the area collectively is developed and improved. So if you want to respond to some of the points people have made.
Thank you, Chair. I'll take them if I can in order. So I suppose, Councillor Flynn, to address some of your points, so I disagree with you wholeheartedly on almost everything that you've said. So RCSI have also been in York Street a long time. I've been at York Street 215 years. And I think York Street and the environs would be a very different place if RCSI had have decided back a number of years ago to relocate out of York Street. So we've invested a lot. And RCSI isn't. I mean, we don't have walls around our campus. In fact, the whole idea of this public realm enhancement is to provide, I suppose, a greener, more friendly, more welcoming space and city for everybody. We have a huge amount of engagement with the local community. I'm here today in my capacity as Director of Estates. We have a whole other department that deals with outreach programmes. Through our REACH programme, we host a number of events right through the year for teddy bear picnics. We have the strollers in. And we have loads of events, so we have a lot of engagement. We also employ a lot of people from the local community as well, which is just a point to make. Just in relation to the engagement and I suppose RCSI, and you mentioned a number of times RCSI, our business. RCSI are the national training body for surgery in Ireland, and we have been since 1784. So we are in fact a very important part of the healthcare, part of the an education system in Ireland, not just for training undergraduate doctors and dentists as of this year. We'll be starting to train dentists, but also in terms of postgraduate education for surgery. So that's we're very proud of that fact. In terms of the antisocial behaviour that you mentioned, we had two foreign students attacked earlier this year. I know. So we had two students attacked this year. And RCSI and the Gardaí and Dublin City Council spearheaded a targeted operation to address that. And we welcomed the members of the local community into the college, and we engaged heavily with the local community to address those issues. And we provided additional cameras and additional resources of our own to assist the Gardaí and the local community in addressing those issues. We see this proposal and this plan for York Street as part of a long-term vision to enhance the whole area. We hear about the Glover's Court redevelopment. We think that'll be fantastic as well, because that area at the bottom of York Street, at that part of York Street, has been a hub of antisocial behaviour. So I suppose I disagree with what you said, and I think it's quite unfair to paint RCSI as a for-profit business that don't care about our neighbours and our local community. And and just to underscore that we have been on York Street for quite a long time ourselves. Councillor Kinsella, if I just take your comments, questions. RCSI, we do have our own student accommodation at Noel Purcell Walk. We have a small number of beds there, 120 for predominantly first-year, foundation year and first-year students. And then we have agreements in place with different private providers, such as the Ainger Street accommodation, etc. So we guarantee accommodation for our first-year students. After that, it's up to themselves to look after themselves. The completion date for the new building, it's with our friends in another part of Dublin City Council at the moment with building control, but we hope that the building will be open in the next month or so. And we start to move our staff and students across. The next question from the councillor. Yes, so the building will have, so the ground floor of the building is open to the public, free access, open to the general public. As Brian mentioned, we'll have a public gallery there, obviously with a health focus, and that will be updated 3 or 4 times a year. As part of that building, we have not just accessible WCs, we have a changing places WCs. That's for people who are require assistance and the use of a hoist. And again, that's there's a public scheme where we have uploaded details of that facility, and it's available for while the building's open. It's available for anyone. And on the bike lanes, there are no bike lanes on York Street at the moment, but as a fellow cyclist, I'd love to see a bike lane as well. Sorry, I'll move through these very quickly. So, Mr. Councillor Dunn's points around the shortcut to the plans. We've been engaging with DCC. In fact, we made our first submission to DCC in December 2023. We submitted a detailed proposal to the Dublin City Transport Plan, which I'm sure came into this chamber. So we started the engagement back then. The current iteration of the plan, which again we say it's these are small interventions on the street, addition of seating and pedestrian crossings. We've worked with Dublin City Council, Traffic Department and various departments, and so in terms of that engagement, that's been happening for the last 2 years, in particular in the last 7 months in terms of what we're talking about today. So we follow the due process in terms of engaging with DCC, and any wider plans for further pedestrianisation or for further plans in the street, we would be very happy to engage with the local community and councillors on that.
Okay, Mannix, just let him answer. No, Mannix, just let him answer. You can come back in, but let him answer.
Councillor, currently so RCSI, I know what we are spending, so we're spending about 100,000 on this in terms of plan. The DCC element is the painted on pedestrian crossings and tactile paving, so and we will maintain the planting as well on the street, that we'll bear that cost. It's an ongoing cost. And in terms of community rooms, we recently had a group of local kids in to one of our halls, and we make them available regularly for kids. We do have STEM programs, and we have an EDI department that we lead out on different initiatives on that. And I think that's all. Maybe the Chair's comments, I think I've covered those hopefully in that response. Thank you.
Thanks for that. But the point that Councillor Flynn raised, and I raised at the end, there does need to be, in my view, an engagement, a direct engagement with the 5 local councillors. And I would ask you to do that fairly quickly. You know, it's a basic.
Chair, I referred to the public domain enhancements that we had in a number of other parts, Parliament Street here behind us and all, and it all went through a certain process, right? And that process included periods of public consultation and so forth. I think I see no reason why. There's lovely things in your plan. Looks nice. I certainly would be quite happy with most of it. But there is a process that we have to go through. So I'd like to hear from somebody from Dublin City Council Management in relation to that, that everybody here knows what's going to happen next.
Okay, I'll allow management time to think about answering that and bringing Councillor Flint.
Yeah, I will appreciate engaging with the local councillors, but I will remind you that while you are director of the estate of the Royal College of Surgeons, this particular estate that you're talking about is Dublin City Council and the local community. And it comes across, with all due respects, as if this is your estate. But it's not your estate, it's Dublin City Council's estate. And there's a statutory way of going about this. You can see it all over the city, you can see it on Grafton Street, you can see it on all the streets that we're trying to improve. If you come down that road, we've no problem. In relation to your outreach programme, I can discuss all those matters with you if you engage with me, but I haven't been engaged with the Royal College of Surgeons. The last time I was engaged with the Royal College of Surgeons was when you're putting together the building on York Street, and it was a very positive engagement. Since then, there's been none. In relation to the 2 students that were assaulted, that was a particularly appalling situation. But prior to that, there were many, many people assaulted, including local people, and threatened, etc. It took a long time for Garda Síochána to get to the situation there, and that is an ongoing issue within there. I'm quite willing to work with the Royal College of Surgeons, and I'm quite willing to work with improvements within the area. But I can't work with you when I get presented to a situation like this and I don't get engagement and I don't get involvement. And as I said, the local community down there extends itself into Whitefire Street and into McDonough House and into O'Carroll Village. It's a substantial community attached to Whitefire Street Church. They'll be dismayed. They all use those particular streets. And when this college closes in the evening, it's pretty much deserted. It's a fantastic community. I'm very proud of that community, right beside St. Stephen's Green, right beside the shopping centre. The biggest issue that we have in that area, to be quite frank with you, is the cars. One of them being your own multi-storey car park, which in my opinion contradicts all of what you stand for as a health organisation. It's hypocritical that you would actually have such vehicles within the area given climate action, and you made no attempt in your document to say you're going to get rid of that situation. So I would ask Councillor Lacey that you would engage with Dermot Lacey, who's the chairperson, and engage with his local councillors and organise a proper meeting with Dublin City Council, public realm people, and then we can all work together on this and work together so that when we're doing Glover's Court, we can do the whole package together, because there's no point in doing Glover's Court and then coming down the road. We need to do it all together, and I'm very proud to work alongside anybody who wants to improve the area. Thank you.
My microphone won't work, so I'm just going to call in the manager. I think Richard Shakespeare will do that too.
Thanks, Chair. And thanks. I just wanted to note all of the comments from the members here, and obviously consultation is a key one. I think just though I would like to say that I think it's, it is to welcome the fact that people acknowledge that this is a positive addition for the area and that it will improve the public realm. But I would also bring your attention to the fact that it's a vision. That this hasn't, there are various stages to this. And like the kind of the medium term, the long term, this has a process. You know, this isn't something that is just going to be delivered as set out here. It has to go through the process as required by Dublin City Council. The first stage to this, which is probably the more immediate one, is I think there are plans afoot for that. But we can certainly convene a meeting and bring everybody together where the RSCI can go through that in more detail, and if there's opportunity for input, I think they can certainly facilitate that. There has been meetings with Dublin City Council in terms of our traffic department on this first stage. The medium and long term is still that. It is still medium and long term, and it would require obviously all due process to be applied to that process. But just to note that this is something I think that is intended to be a positive addition for the area, which has had antisocial behaviour, which has been the focus of quite negative attention recently, and this is something to improve the public realm. It will, of course, remain in the public realm, and I'd like to stress that at all times this is the public realm that we're talking about. Thanks, Chair.
The next stage in terms of the usual procedures.
My understanding is that the first stage, the short-term piece, is going ahead, and that the medium-term and long-term, that would require more detailed plans, procedures, but I will let the RSCI speak to the first stage and their timelines on that, and if there's an opportunity at this stage still for the members to actually input to that, because I think certainly following today's meeting that would be very welcome, and it would give everybody an opportunity to discuss the details of it and to see if there's an opportunity for further input and to bring the community more into that. Thanks, Chair.
Problem manager, that, you know, if it doesn't matter how good the works are, that if we allow works that should have a process followed to happen and not follow the process, what happens the next time that there are mixed views on what the outcome is, and you know, we say, well, sure, that happened with the RCSI, so this is the way we're going to do it for some other agency. Can I ask that this meeting be organised with the local councillors within the next 10 days or so to see if this is resolvable? Because genuinely, there's a precedent being established here that could be difficult down the road. I don't want to stop these works. I want to see this area improved. I want to see the city developed. But if we deviate from the norms, we get into a sort of a tricky situation. And I think we need to have this meeting as soon as possible. Alex.
Just very briefly, I mean, I would be opposed, okay, because of the statutory situation of any alterations on the footpaths or the pathways here by the Royal College of Surgeons. This has to be led by Dublin City Council. With all due respect, Manager, we were not informed about any of this. Not 1 minute will be informed about any of this situation of these improvements. I've been screaming on about Mercer Street and the traffic and the problems that we have there in terms of all sorts of an issue. And here we have a presentation where you're telling me that phase 1 of this is going to go ahead. I'm all on for improvements, trust me. But I'm not going to support a situation here that I believe actually is not given due process and fairness. With all due respects, I want to see the place improved. I want to see it all dealt with. I want to see people having a happy, good time there. But I think that this way is an absolute contempt. I'm the local councillor. I was elected by the people. I work with you. I work with the councillors in here. I work with loads of people. Why were we not informed about this? You need to answer these questions, Manager. You really need to answer these, because I'm angered by this particular process. If someone was to change the windows in York Street flats, you'd be on top of them like a light about planning, etc., etc. Someone moved the barrow this way, that way, you'd be on top of them. And yet there's a situation happening here which is absolutely unacceptable. With all due respects, there's a process. You either stick with the process or you don't. Or what I'll do then is I'll go down and I'll start digging up Mercer Street, and I'll put improvements into Mercer Street and make the area a bit more safe. I'll put a big kind of, like, you know, rainbow sidewalk and a rainbow kind of zebra crossing across it. And then what will you do? With all due respects, gentlemen, we have a process here. I'm 17 years in the City Council. Mr. Lacey's longer than I am, and there are other individuals. We serve the community, all the community. It's actually not possible to proceed along these particular lines, as Councillor Lacey said, because if someone else comes along and says, I want to put this, I want to put that, well, then we're in serious problems. Let's do this in a proper manner and get it right, involve everybody, make sure it's a good situation and bring them on board. I'm all on for that, but this situation, no.
The manager, as in this manager, has agreed to organise a meeting fairly quickly. And let's see where we go from there.
Can he help the process? Can he just put the process to the side and ask him that this is stood down until such times that he gets informed consent?
Well, I am presuming, maybe I'm wrong, but I'm presuming there won't be any work done before this time the next meeting of the area committee, which is in 4 weeks' time.
Chair, can I come in, please?
Yeah.
In terms of the work the stage 1 work, we're talking about, just to be clear, 2 pedestrian crossings on the street, which, as far as I understand, and I'm well advised by our colleagues in DCC, that the City Council have that within their statutory powers to provide pedestrian crossings on a street where they see fit. The reference point that we got was on South William Street, but there's a similar pedestrian crossing that come in. So it's I can't remember the specific statutory instrument that's there. So that's just to be clear. We're talking about 2 pedestrian crossings on York Street to slow the traffic, which can be used by everybody. So,
Okay, both points to be made. Look, there is a difference of opinion here. I mean, there is a basic right of the local, in fact, there's a duty of them to seek consultation on interventions in their areas. And, the traffic department might think a pedestrian crossing should go there, and councillors think it should go there. I mean, there's a pedestrian crossing being put in my area right at this very moment in time, and it is the most stupid place to put the pedestrian. Now, I'm sure traffic people here will tell me all sorts of reasons why it's the right place, but it's stupid. And in fact, people won't use it, and cars are going to go through it because the lights haven't been fixed. So sometimes there is a difference between the professional expertise and the common sense the councillors bring to the table. And that's our different roles. And on something like that, like I usually sort of try and protect the guests at these meetings, but the local councillors are right to try and ensure that what's happening in their area in this scheme is compatible with their beliefs and what's right for the area. And, so let's have the meeting in the next few weeks. If a pedestrian crossing goes in 4 weeks' time, I have to tell you it'll be the quickest pedestrian crossings in my 32 years in this council. So the traffic department will have developed a skill that they haven't had for the last 32 years. So I'd be shocked if it happens.
Just on that, Chair, is it not the case that a pedestrian crossing needs to be recommended by TAG, the Traffic Advisory Group?
It probably has been.
And that's a question to the TAG representative here in the back.
Colin, you want to? Maybe if Michelle would share the pass with the we are going to try and move on, by the way, because there's a long agenda.
Yeah, pedestrian crossings usually go through the TAG process. Well, they always go through the TAG process. So councillors get an opportunity to see that coming up and to have their say on it as well.
Did these particular pedestrian crossings come
I don't think they're at that stage yet. I'm not familiar with
so they're not going
the project.
They're not going to go in the next 4 weeks?
No, I wouldn't think so.
Okay. I know that. Can I ask that the manager arranges this meeting and the people raise their issues at that meeting, and any councillors expressed an interest can also go along to it, okay? And I'll go if I possibly can. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's fine. Just to say at the outset, I'll be asking the CEO of Dublin City Council and all the various executives in this council as to how we got to this particular situation. I want answers here. I mean, I really do, Dermot. I mean, you are always going on about our powers being eroded. You know what I mean? You're constantly reminded that we've no more power. This is preposterous, what's going on here. Really is, in every sense of the word. The local community have no idea that this is coming down the road. With all due respect, gentlemen, if this was your neighbourhood and all of a sudden there were 2 pedestrian crossings being stuck down the end without your consent, you'd be flabbergasted. At least inform us.
Okay, I have a twofold duty here. I have to try and protect councillors' interests, and I have to try and advance the interests of Dublin. Councillor Kenny, and then we're going to move on. Okay, Councillor Kenny.
Hi, I just wanted to quickly ask, and I think it would be good for me as well as a newer councillor, is there a standardised approach, for a pedestrianised crossing? Is there like a set formula? Like, you know, it has to be X amount long, X amount wide. Is there a certain amount of footfall that needs to be hit? Because I think it would be just good to have that going into the meeting, if you don't mind.
And let's move on then. Colin?
Yeah, there are quite a few criteria, and really, rather than say going into specific details or engineering details, like we take each location, you know, as a standalone, and it does depend on the footfall, the speeds, where, you know, destinations, desire lines, and I know sometimes it can, you know, Councillor Lacey, you know, from his comments about where the one in his area is going in, like what, you know, it's a whole mix of factors, and there isn't a perfect location for every pedestrian crossing. But it's
I think we can
trying to
agree.
achieve as close.
Hold on. I think we can agree that in an area where there's a college here and a college here, right beside each other, and it's a narrow street, that whatever about where we put them and all of that, pedestrian crossings are probably a good thing. So let's you have the discussion between us and see if we can make progress. Okay? Yeah. 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 So let's go to have that meeting. You're going to discuss it. It's going to be before the next area committee meeting, and maybe the manager would even circulate a report on that meeting, and then we'll see where we go to the next one. Okay? Thanks very much. Okay, no, take care. Okay, we're going to keep on moving on. Minutes of the last meeting, agreed?
No,
Councillor Connolly?
Councillor Wanagum, in the last meeting we had a motion asking about Rathmines Post Office. I was just wondering if we have an update on Rathmines Post Office, or will we do an update at this meeting?
Yeah. I was waiting to the manager. John, do you want to outline? Mannix, just be...
So yeah, we're arranging that. We'll get back to you with a date in relation to that. I've mentioned to the chair before the meeting. Yeah,
yeah, I think the deputy city manager assistant city manager has been involved in the process. Okay? Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to TAG. Colin, and is Neil on the line as well? Just to... Yes, he is. We always like to see Neil there. Okay, and Colin. Just to take the heat off Colin sometimes. Okay, I have Councillor Flynn, Councillor Hogan, and I want to come in myself, and we'll take all. Councillor Flynn.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the TAG report. Again, just going back to, you know, up above our conversation there around York Street, you know, around the issue around Mercer Street. Anything temporary would work, because you have a construction site there in Bow Lane with big trucks coming in, massive trucks coming in. You've got a whole load of trucks now parking down the bottom of Mercer Street in the morning times up to 12 o'clock, which is causing huge problems, because anybody that's trying to cross the road there now can't, and the cars speeding up Mercer's Hill can't see them. You know, it really needs an intervention. We've just had a major presentation there about how they want traffic calming measures in York Street, when really the main issue of traffic calming is actually on Mercer Street and those streets there. You know, with all due respects, the big problem on York Street is the multi-storey car parks. The main pedestrians there are the students. I'm appealing to you. I mean, I know that you have got stuff out to tender, but to put something there, we're talking here about Kevin, the Royal College of Surgeons, 2 pedestrian crossings without any boy or leave, and we can't get one for the bottom of Mercer Street. It's please, like, while we are waiting for, you know, the proper design plans to come in, could we possibly get something that can allow the children and the elderly people to, with their shopping, to come out of Dunstores and be able to walk across it? Because when they come out of Dunstores and they walk up towards the multi-storey car parks, it's so confusing. You've got cars coming out of the laneway, cars going into the multi-storey car park. It's a nightmare. Cars zooming down Bow Lane. It's not good enough. And I would ask you again, I'm years asking for this, please give us something that's temporary, that would slow that traffic down and warn them that they're in this particular area. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Flynn. Councillor Hogan.
Thank you very much, Chair. So just on the Anna Villa stop sign, it's not recommended, but I do think it is...
Which number, sorry?
Sorry, 23 on the list.
23, okay.
So it's just... It was a request for a stop sign at the end of Annavilla. Now, whichever way has the right of way, it's just not clear. When you're approaching down Beechwood Avenue, you say there's a yield sign there. It's actually covered by a load of trees, so you don't actually get to see the yield sign until you're about 6, maybe 10 feet away from the actual line where you're supposed to stop. Additionally, there's a line that says no entry at the end of Annavilla, which seems to be confusing for some drivers who think that that's a line you have to stop at before proceeding. And so I think a lot of people believe that the right of way is on the Beechwood Avenue and not Annavilla. So like whether it's a stop sign at Annavilla or not, I think it just greater clarity needs to be given to the signage in the area.
Thanks, Rory. Councillor Kenny. I have them now. Yeah. Okay, I'll come back to you. Councillor Claire Byrne. Claire Byrne?
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Chair. I just have a quick question. It was a written question that I had put in. Sorry, it's not actually on the agenda, but I submitted a question in relation to the filtered permeability scheme on Pigeon House Road. We were supposed to be presented with the permanent scheme for that back in June, and we haven't had any update since. So I'm just wondering, the response to my question stated that the team weren't aware of what I was referring to. So could I get an update on that? Just to clarify, it's the filtered permeability scheme at the Pigeon House Road, the end that's beside the Bring Centre there. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Hazel Chu. Hazel?
Thanks, Chair. Just on the back of, it's not an item on tag, but following on Rory's question about stop signs, I'm just wondering in relation to Belmont Avenue, when are we finally getting that sign? It was promised over a year ago, 18 months ago, and I'm just wondering when that this is 2 ways and people to make sure people behave properly. So, thank you.
Thanks, Hazel. And just on that, I actually got calls about that during the week. There still is confusion about that two-way scheme. Councillor Kenny, I'll bring it back. Councillor Kenny.
Thanks, Chair. I just wanted to speak to item number 12 there, and it's kind of highlighted throughout. It keeps coming back that TAG isn't recommending things because there's already on-street parking there in sight. Now, that's fine when you're dealing with people who actually are following the law and aren't speeding up and down side roads, you know what I mean? I know it has to be a collective effort, but I just would like us to get better organised at maybe imagining other ways. If we can't give speed ramps, what can we give then? I was going to bring that up again as well under item number 19 there on Erin Place Lower, where they did request speed ramps as well, and it's the same ideology. Oh, you know, it has slow zone there, people aren't going to follow that, so sometimes we do have to get a little bit more aggressive. If they're driving aggressively, maybe aggressive speed ramps are what we need. I know myself how carefully I drive over them and sorry, I just wanted to bring up something else as well under TAG. I know that TAG has been in conversations with the NTA regarding the situation down on Church Street at the minute. Residents have been told that their parking is being taken away. And Church Avenue, is it? Thanks very much, Councillor Lacey. So there's ongoing discussions there and there's ongoing kind of confusing conversations with the community. So they just want to know where they stand. They're being told 1 minute that the parking is being taken away and then the DCC is providing alternative parking. So if we could get a response from the management and from the section and from the NTA on what is actually happening, I'd really appreciate that.
Thanks, Councillor Kenny. Councillor, I just want to double check, Councillor Dunn, and I'll bring you back in order.
Yeah, two things on the report. The first one, I welcome very much the recommendation to put yellow boxes on Dolphin Road to allow traffic coming down Mourne Road get out in the mornings and evenings. And I think that people who use that would be very welcomed to see those boxes go in. I'm trying to find it here. Item number 10 on Windmill Road. I note that the requests for double yellow lines were submitted by a TD, but I have submitted requests for double yellow lines and for other parking things on that road for quite some time, and working with the manager and our engineers and so forth. And I was down there on Friday evening, just at the time where a lot of the underage football games were going on. You couldn't walk down the footpaths. Right at the corners of the top of Captain's Road and Windmill Park, every corner parked on, right? And you know, we're talking about not just kind of two wheels up on the footpath. In certain cases, there was a whole vehicle on the footpath. And it happens every week. And for years and years, despite asking for something proper to be done about it, all we are getting back here again is a pay and display solution might work. It's not going to work, a pay and solution there, because the people who are currently coming into that road from outside and parking on it when there's a football game or a boxing tournament or whatever on, are still going to do that. It's either we put bollards on those corners, right, to stop vehicles parking on them. And I've asked for that before, and I'm asking again, and I'm asking the manager here, can we do that? But to refuse a double yellow line on the basis that the road is wide enough that you could park legally on both sides of it is ignoring the problem of people consistently illegally parking there. And when parking enforcement came out, local residents were fined, and I'll tell you the reason they were fined, because they couldn't access parking in and around their own home, legal parking in and around their own home. Thank you very much, Daniel.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Flynn.
Thank you very much, Dermot, and thank you very much for the tag report. Again, just on Church Avenue, is it not the law that when the actually parking space is taken away, rescinded, it has to come before us in terms of being decommissioned? And again, we weren't informed about this at all, so there's a confusion here between the NTA and Dublin City Council and parking and tag, so we need a clarification on that if parking is going to be rescinded. And just again on the same subject in the Royal College of Surgeons and that whole public domains of traffic calming measures, can I ask who organised this presentation that was given by the Royal College of Surgeons? Who initiated it to come before us? Was it a local councillor or was it the executive or the managers? Thanks.
Okay, we can come back to that. Councillor Connolly.
Kermarcus, I just want to support Councillor Dunn on Windmill Road because it's a real helter-skelter zone, and it doesn't even have to be on match days. Sometimes just as the swimming pool is busy, it's really poor parking from a lot of people up there, so it is dangerous and you can't use the footpath. So I think just want to fully support your comments, Councillor Dunn. I would love an update on Brighton Avenue pay and display possibilities, if that's possible, please. I know I bring it up every meeting, but I think the residents are still waiting on a response. I'm not sure if Eagle Hill is the correct place here for response, but I know we're looking at double yellow lines to see if we can deter people from parking on the entrance to Eagle Hill and Terranure. And finally, just wondering if there's an update on Palmerston Park parking along the flat side of the semicircle of the park, because there aren't residents to consult with. So I think it might be just up to Dublin City Council to decide that a pay display could go in. So they're my 3 questions, please. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And Claire Byrne, is that still a new hand?
The new hand, Chair. Would you let me in on something very briefly? Thank you. It's just in relation to the towpath of Portobello Harbour and the use of it by cyclists. The local residents have been staging their own sort of protests locally, because there was signage that was put in, like reinforced signage that was put in not that long ago, I think on the foot of a motion that I had submitted, but it's since been torn down. And there's just constant causing of conflict there between cyclists and pedestrians. And I fully appreciate that it is the most direct route for those who are coming down the Grand Canal cycle route. But if there's anything that can be done, and I know that the long-term vision for the park will again take them through a different route, and also the plans for the Grand Canal cycle route. But in the interim, is there anything that could be done on that section to stop cyclists from speeding down along the towpath where they're not supposed to be? Like, could we put like planters or something that would make it difficult for them or would force them to sort of slow down, or some other intervention, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Coffey.
Thank you, Chair. Just on Bath Street, I can see there was a request for more signs around 3.5-ton limit vehicles going through, and that was not recommended, which is probably fine. However, local residents on that street continue to have their cars damaged by oversized vehicles going down it. One resident recently told me the damage on her car was assessed at €6,500. So is there anything that we as a council can do in relation to this street to try and...
Bath Street.
Bath Street, yeah. Anything that can be done to stop vehicles coming through that aren't meant to be going through. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Councillor Danny Byrne.
Sorry. Thanks, Chair. Yeah, just in relation to the towpath at Portobello Harbour, I joined the residents there last week, and unfortunately, some very ignorant people remonstrating with ladies that are campaigning there, and it's quite shocking to see. There is marks for a bicycle and an X over it, in other words, no bicycles, so perhaps they need to be renewed. But I think the main problem is it's the e-bikes and e-scooters that are coming flying along there, but also the push bikes and some of them going too fast, so that needs to be addressed. A lot of concerns of residents. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks, Danny. Carolyn Moore.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, again, sorry, this isn't on the tag report, but it's related to a question that I put in this month. And the question, it's something I've asked about in the past as well. It's to do with illegal parking of very large vehicles on the corner of Mount Talent Avenue and St. Pancras Avenue. And basically the question I asked is kind of what can be done about this parking, because if you can imagine trying to pull out of an estate that's already on a bend and basically a HGV has pulled up on the footpath there, you have zero visibility around that bend. You have kids coming and going there trying to cross the road. And I've asked what can be done in the spirit of kind of throwing it out there to see if there's any possible interventions we can consider, and the reply is just that parking enforcement will direct Dublin Street Parking Services to patrol the area and enforce illegal parking where encountered. But for the day-to-day safety concerns of the residents trying to come out of St. Pancras Avenue, that's an extremely unsatisfactory answer. And so I just wonder, is there nothing else we can consider there? This is happening on a continuous basis. And obviously enforcement is not working, because if it was working, the parking wouldn't be happening. Thanks.
Thanks, Councillor Moore. And just for my own part, just on item 1, can I welcome it? It wasn't possible before, so it's a lesson. Keep on putting things down, and eventually TAG will agree with you. So I'm delighted to see it's happened. There's several issues about, and Councillor Hogan raises Mount Pleasant Square, Bannavilla, Annaville. Councillor Chu also referred to it. The residents, for those of you who don't know the area, it's a warren of small streets, and they've been constantly promised interventions, and yet every single request in here from a variety of councillors has been rejected. They need a solution. Like, they can't continue. Cars are hitting other cars are hitting houses, there's no footpaths in part of it. There needs to be a resolution to the area as an area, rather than, all the individual requests that go in. There was one other thing I wanted to raise, and that was I've raised that, Annavilla. Just the point that Councillor Dunn raised, item 24, I see the request is in from a member of the public. I know I put in exactly the same request, so councillors seem to disappear off it. There's several answers, and there's several answers to questions passing on responsibility for issues to bus connects. Like, I don't know when this city council lost its own self-respect, but there's a load of answers saying, oh, the NTA is responsible for this, Bus Connects is responsible for this. The answer, if we had to start fighting with Bus Connects in the NTA, we should do it. because they seem to me to be two entities that slow up everything in this city. And I just noticed today there was a lot of answers passing on the blame to them. And on the last point I just want to raise, in an answer to number 15, you say that in this case of double yellow lines will be implemented once the tag process is complete. You might circulate to councillors what the tag process is, because it's not overly clear. I mean, sometimes you see questions that this has been recommended subject to the tag or subject to the Garda Commissioner or whatever, and just would be handy for people to be clear about all of that. There's a load of things in this I also welcome, which are good. Okay, over to you, Colin, or Neil, whichever. Colin first.
Yeah, I'll go first, and then maybe let Neil come in then after that. So the Councillor Flynn, just on the traffic in Bow Lane, the construction traffic, we'll get that looked at between our parking enforcement people and our roadworks control people to see if they're going beyond what was agreed in the construction management plan for there, and also take on board your request for even temporary measures on Mercer Street. We'll have a look at that and see if there's anything we can
Be
put
much
in.
appreciated, thank you.
Okay. Then Anna Villa, sort of take a note of what you've said there, Councillor. We'll have a look at it again, just see with maybe a bit more detail that you've provided. See if there's something that we can do to improve it.
Colin, that's part of that wider placement thing that needs to be looked at as a package.
Okay, yeah, I'd take that point as well. So, and Councillor Byrne, we had made some attempts to get in touch with Councillor Byrne with you on that one, but thanks for the clarification on the location there, and we'll get in touch with the team that have put that in and get a clarification for you on where it's at the moment, the filtered permeability initiative there. Sorry now, Councillor Chu, I didn't get the location of your query there. Maybe if you could...
It was the same general.
It was the same general. Yeah. Okay.
It was Belmont Avenue.
Oh, sorry, that was your
Belmont
first one. Yeah,
okay.
Sorry. The two-way signage. Internally, Belmont Avenue is two-way. You just can't enter it from the top. And there's a lot of lack of clarification. And when the scheme was introduced, the promise was that there would be better two-way signage within the road.
I'll when I'm finished, maybe
even a few arrows just on the road, clearly marking that people can't go. There's a little bit of tension. Some people think you can't go two ways.
Okay. Councillor Kenny, the situation on traffic calming. It's always it's a difficult one between enforcement. We go in and we put in every sign and speed limit and restriction or whatever to try and calm things down, and some people just, as you say yourself, will just ignore that. So we do try to see if is there anything else that we can put in. We could be putting that in, everywhere across the city, putting in ramps and whatever, and sometimes that can make things worse. But we take again each situation on its own merits, and try to improve the situation where we can. On the Church Avenue, I suppose there are a few councillors asking about that. I'll go back to the team that's working on that just to get their full clarification on it, and we'll issue that out to the area councillors. And Councillor Dunn, on Windmill, I suppose it's a similar situation at Grove Avenue, where and across the city where we have football pitches and large leisure areas that people come into, particularly on weekends. It's always a challenge. We can look at that again and say, we don't really like putting in bollards. They sort of create their own problems as well for people with visual impairments and whatever. But we'll have another look at that and see if there's an improvement that can be made in it. I don't know if there's a silver bullet solution there again, but we'll see what we can do. Councillor Flynn, I think it was Church Avenue. and we'll get the team to issue that.
Sorry, just on that, if I may, is it statutory that a parking spot has to be rescinded and that has to be put into the public domain in relation to Park Avenue?
I think those parking spaces. I think there was no, if I'm correct, there was no pay and display scheme. There was nothing there traditionally. So I'm not sure if there's anything to rescind, if you like. So there was no parking restriction there. There was no double yellows. There was no nothing. So I think we can put in, you know, under the regulations, under the laws, we can put in double yellows, but I'm not sure. But if it needs to go to the councillors, and I think the team involved can clarify some of those points as well.
But my understanding was that the executive could install double yellow lines if they feel like it. That it's not one of the things that has to come back to us. That's my understanding.
But we would usually, anything like, as you know, we'd put it through the tag process, which comes to the councillors as well. So.
Just that the process was rather odd for the people who've been parking there for quite some time, and all of a sudden this situation happens without any wheel buy or leave to them, no real engagement, and very unclear as to why the double yellows were placed there and they were inconvenienced. What happens then is that those cars go into the next street and the next street, and there's no provision. And again, it's about the traffic in the city and the cars. How do we actually deal with that particular process? Because where are they going to go? So I just ask in future that we would be informed, the local residents would be informed of exactly what's going to happen here with this double yellows and the reasons why. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, maybe we can get clarity on the law on that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Just, Dermot, if I can jump in on that. Some of the residents across the road in that area did receive something in the post that highlighted that 2 places had been made available on Bath Road and 3 on Beach Road. I'm not sure who that came from, but they were informed that the spaces were being relocated to
I think that was from the NTA.
I think so, yeah.
Well, it would have been from the NTA and the team in DCC that's working on that on the bus network, on those networks. So, there has been some engagement with that residents have been informed, and we've put in extra parking on adjacent streets to try and ameliorate, the situation. I think the need for taking out that parking is so that the bus route can be extended up into the new glass bottle site, which I think is in the region of, it'll planned about 9,000 people living up there. So it's to try and service those people, to get them in and out to work and to get them home in the evening, I suppose. But I'll get the team just to clarify all of those points.
So sorry, is that the Bus Connects team within Dublin City Council as opposed to the active travel team within Dublin City Council?
Yes.
So the information comes from that?
Yeah, not active travel. No.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Neil, do you want to come in on anything? I'll give you a second. Councillor Coffey has a question down today, and it's an issue that's come up several times. There's a stretch of Beach Road where cars are just regularly clamped, and the reason why they're clamped is because they're parking opposite a solid white line. A lot of people don't know you can't park opposite a solid white line, and just to be fair to people, we should either take out the solid white line or put in double yellow lines on that stretch, because really it isn't fair. It's a bit like shooting fish in a barrel. Cars are regularly clamped there, and they think they're parking legally, but they're not. So they don't win appeals because they are illegally parked. But I mean, I think I only discovered about 3 or 4 years ago that you can't park opposite solid white line. So maybe double yellow lines would resolve that.
I think it's a problem we have in a lot of locations, but double yellows could create a bigger problem, because you can park legally on double yellows for half an hour if you're actively loading or unloading.
This is I don't know why the solid white line is here, because this is quite a big indent on the road, which is why people actually look to park there, because taking out the solid white line actually wouldn't make any difference, but it's there for some historical reasons. But maybe we'd have a look at it, because it's sort of unfair to those people.
Where's the location
it's
again?
It's a little indent on Beach Road, between New Grove Avenue and sort of the Beach Drive. There was no little garage there, so it's on that stretch there.
Chair, could I just say,
Sorry, Patrick.
there's an identical situation where Clareville meets Kenilworth Park.
Patrick, will you use the microphone? Sorry.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I think it's a good point, Dermot, and there's an identical situation, solid white line, I won't repeat it, where Clareville Road meets Kenilworth Park, and just the frustration of people. I wasn't clamped myself, but I've had people come to my house who were clamped. I didn't know why they were clamped, and it's because opposite a white line. I was unaware of that. Maybe you'd have a look at it. There is nowhere to unload or load. There's no necessity there. So I take your point, but I think we'd be okay on that score.
Okay, we'll leave it with you.
Clareville Road. Clareville.
Okay, we'll leave it with you. Well, and we'll move on to traffic motion. Councillor Moore. Carolyn Moore, it's motion number 4. Carolyn?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Sorry, this just takes a while to turn on again. Sorry, I wasn't sure we were coming to this now. Yeah, well, look, I suppose it is. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, sorry, I wasn't sure we were coming to this under traffic. But yeah, look, just in terms of the report, I'm glad to hear there's a process underway to start to move away from plastic bollards, because it really is becoming kind of impossible to defend them as a temporary measure. When some of them have been in place for, at least 5 years now, and B, we are actually reinstalling them when we complete road surfacing or resurfacing or general kind of public realm projects. Very specifically, I want to mention, because I'm thinking of the recent work that was completed on Castle Street. So we have a combination now beside City Hall of a nice new freshly retarmacked area and new cobbles to the side of City Hall. And it's really, really difficult to understand how at such a really landmark location in the city centre, we couldn't have looked at replacing the plastic bollards with something that was A, bit more permanent, and B, just a little bit more aesthetically pleasing, or at least sympathetic with the location. So just to go back to the report, I can definitely see why we need a citywide program of replacement, and I do absolutely welcome that. But I would also expect, given the usual timelines that we're dealing with, that we're probably a few years away from actually seeing a design be agreed, from seeing a completed program being developed, or from actually securing the funding that we would need to roll that program out. So what I'm kind of saying with my motion, and that hasn't really been addressed in the report, is that in the interim, we should be considering that when we are spending significant sums of money on, as I said, resurfacing or any kind of urban realm improvements in key locations, we should actually be taking the opportunity to replace the plastic bollards in the context of that project. So basically, we could be getting a head start on a replacement program by just consolidating budgets and projects and just taking a more common sense approach to it. And I sort of suspect that we would save some money in the long term by doing it that way, instead of resurfacing, replacing with plastic bollards, and then looking to replace that with something a little bit more permanent down the line. So I welcome the spirit of the report, but I don't really accept it in response to my motion. Thank you.
Thanks, Caroline. Anybody? David Coffey?
Yeah, just to come in on that as well, I agree with pretty much everything Councillor Moore has to say there. The plastic bollards are hideous, and it should be our aim to get rid of every single one of them in the city in the coming years. The sooner the better. Thank you.
Thanks. Well, I agree with both previous councillors. I suppose my only question is, why on earth do we have to deal with the National Transportation Authority on this? I'm actually sick to my teeth of national organisations interfering in this city. They don't help us. They interfere with us. They set the rules. The rules are often, alien to the needs of the city. They're not accountable to anybody. I mean, they claim they're accountable to the Oireachtas, but not in reality accountable to anybody, because they're small fry in terms of the Oireachtas. We've got no representation on us. Councillors have no representations. I know the city manager is, but I mean, the elected representatives of Dublin aren't represented on it. So I'm just sort of fed up with all these agencies, and the sooner the government gets rid of them, the better, in my opinion. Councillor Flynn.
Just very briefly, yeah. I mean, I think the motion again, speaks to a disaster that's happening within the city. I mean, these are historic streets that haven't been touched in an awful long time. Hand built. We weren't, bombed by the Nazis. So all these buildings and all these streets are going back, a long time, and yet we have completely and absolutely undermined them and vandalised them with all the plastic bollards. The problem for me, Councillor Lacey, again, in relation to the bollards, is that when a car hits one or drives over one, because the boats are actually just in the tarmac, the boats come up and then they're on the ground. And boats, when a car goes over them, they're flinging them across the road. And there's nobody there checking. Now, I've reported in bollards lying on the ground with boats hanging out of them, and it was weeks before anybody came along. Actually, I ended up taking it off myself. I think I've probably about 10 different contraptions locked away somewhere that I'd like to hand back to you. But again, I don't want to give them back to you that you're going to reuse them. I think, we've decommissioned the arms in the north. We could certainly decommission the plastic, and I think we need to come back at it in a very, very different way altogether. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Manager, do you want to respond to Councillor Moore in particular?
Yeah, just I suppose that the plastic bollards have had their uses, and particularly during the COVID period. But I know in particular the area on Castle Street that was cited, the traditional Malton view was tried to be maintained there, and there was very long and protracted discussions on trying to find a balance between the traffic needs and the aesthetic needs. So it's, I suppose, an ongoing situation that we are trying to phase out the plastic bollards where we can, but they do have uses as well. So.
Thanks, Colin. I've just been told that Michelle, you're online. You might want to make a comment here. Michelle Murphy.
Yes. Yeah, hi, how are you? Michelle Murphy here from Active Travel. So, look, we are very much aware of the situation, and as we said in the report, that we've recently completed the mapping of the plastic bollards around the city. So that has been completed now. So we are in we have to engage with the NTA. There's nothing we can do about that, but we are also engaging internally in DCC to seek approvals. We need these with road maintenance, also with Dublin Fire Brigade, with regard to whatever proposals or a revised replacement design solution that we come up with. So that is ongoing, and then of course we need to see about securing funding in whatever replacement solution we come up with. We hope that we will be able to do this swiftly, and as soon as we have anything to report, we'll be right back to you.
Okay, Caroline, we'll note the report for the moment.
Just very briefly.
Yeah, I mean, note the report, but it hasn't really been, for example, Castle Street, again, was there ever a consideration that, okay, we're resurfacing here in a historic part of the city centre, will we take the opportunity to replace the plastic bollards with something more sensitive to the streetscape, or was it just, no, we're resurfacing and then we replace with plastic bollards again?
Okay, I'm going to bring Councillor Flynn in, and I say the next thing I'm going to say, I say this as somebody who cycles nearly every day of the week, and I'd be cycling today, only my bicycle was stolen for the 5th time last week. But I have never, ever seen anybody cycle on the cycle lane in Castle Street, ever. So I think it was put in because it was easy to put in rather than in particular need. But Councillor Flynn.
Just again to
well, I have, just to say, I have.
Okay. Genuinely. Okay, we won't have a competition, but I've never seen anyone. Okay,
yeah.
Councillor Flynn.
Just to that point in relation to Castle Street, a historical street that's going to lead into Werber Street, which we'll be getting a report on recently. A fortune was spent putting down the cobble, really looks lovely. And then all of a sudden, you know what I mean, again, Dublin City Council, however it is, the NTA come along and put a big white stripe across it. I mean, there isn't any point really in trying to restore the historic quarter, because the first thing you see when you come around that street, you look out the window, is a dirty big white line right across the historic cobble. there's no point in going to that length like we did over the period of time to lay the cobble, to put it down and then put a huge white stripe around. It just, right beside one of the most historic buildings, which is lying idle. So I just think, again, we need to be very, very careful, particularly when we're in the very sensitive areas like Castle Street. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Can we take a report notice? This is an issue we'll come back to. Okay? Okay. Planning matters. Can we agree all the disposals? Is everybody happy? No. Okay. Right, we'll go through them. Oh, sorry, we have the roll call vote first of all. The roll call, not the roll call vote. Roll call.
Thanks,
Okay.
Chair. Councillor Dermot Lacey.
Yeah, I'm here.
Councillor Noel Brown.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Councillor Carolyn Moore.
Here.
Councillor Claire Bourne.
Here.
Councillor Patrick Kinsella. Councillor Poonam Rain.
Here.
Councillor Danny Byrne.
On shot.
Councillor Emma Blaine.
Here.
Councillor Hazel Shue.
Here.
Councillor David Coffey. Councillor Rory Hogan. Councillor Mannix Flynn. Councillor Keane Farrell. Councillor Fiona Connolly. Councillor Pat Dunn. Councillor Courtney Kenny.
On shot.
Okay, thanks, John. Okay, we're going to go through these one by one. Can I just ask everybody, including myself, it's 4 o'clock and I'd like to try and move us on. Councillor.
Just very quickly, I'm just requesting a further extension for 1 month of the lease for the Whitefire Community Council in relation to the Mercer Street Centre. 1 month as I'm looking for in relation to just establish due diligence.
Okay, it's a later item, but we will come to that, okay? It's not under this one.
But it is under disposal.
No, it's not. It's further down. It's 5. It's under item 5. We'll come to it. I just don't want to get confused by jumping the agenda. Okay, Drury Street. Are we happy to deal with that? Yeah, Councillor Byrne, Councillor Moore, are you either of that? So,
Yeah,
Drury Street, recommend to council. Yeah.
Drury Street.
Hogan Place.
Chair.
Chair.
Sorry, can you
Chair,
hear me?
Yeah, come in.
Just on Drury Street.
Okay.
Oh, you going
We had
through
passed it.
and
We'll
coming back?
be, okay, if everybody could just come in more quickly. Okay, we'll go back to Drury Street, Claire.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to clarify that this is the premises for the Irish Design Shop, and look, I'm supportive of continuing with the disposal of the fee simple in this, but my question was in relation to the report and the statement that the LGA wasn't interested in that site. Was it under consideration? It strikes me as a very small site for the Land Development Agency. It's an existing building, so I'm just wondering, is that a mistake in that report, or is that just a standard?
Claire, under the legislation, every disposal, as I understand it, has to be offered in the first instance to the LDA.
Even if it's under
everything.
certain square footage? Okay, that's great, thanks.
Yeah, Kathy's nodding, are you? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, can we, we're agreeing Drury Street, so, yeah? Okay, Hogan Place, is there agreement on that? Yeah, okay, thank you. The fee simple at Sun Drive Road, agreed. The fee simple at Keeper Road, Pat, Councillor Dunn.
Chair, I think this is the second time this has come to us. There was issues in relation to concerns about parking in the lane at the side of the proposed development could interfere with access to Drimna Boxing Club, and that has been addressed. I raised this particular site at the council meeting last Monday night because it no longer appears, and I couldn't see it appearing in our schedule of proposed social housing developments. And I note that the terms and conditions say that the value of the disposal or the disposal of the right of way and the fee simple is 500,000, of which an agreement is that if 250,000 is paid, will be the cost once it's for social and affordable housing purposes only. But it goes on to say that if it wasn't for social and housing only, that an additional 250,000 would have to be paid. And it seems to me that that's not a huge disincentive to a developer if they decide to change their mind. And I've concerns over that. And the other is that given that this whole process commenced in 2021, and the planning permission has been granted, albeit it wasn't exactly what the developer had sought, but fundamentally it was very close to it. So there was a question of height on some of it. 24 months have been given from this disposal. Now, that would bring us into 2027, almost 7 years, full 6 years after planning permission was granted. I see Aisling Brown is here in the thing, and maybe if Aisling could address my concerns there, that's what I'm asking.
Okay, thanks. Aisling, do you want to come in there? You're welcome to the meeting.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just on the price point there, Councillor Dunn, that's actually the market value put on by our valuers, 500,000, and the agreement is that Oakley will enter into a development agreement to acquire the whole development. The reason we're doing the disposal to T-Brook in the first instance is to make it quicker. So T-Brook can go off, they'll finance the build, and Oakley will enter into agreement and buy it on a turnkey basis, which will be a deposit, and then they'll pay the remainder on completion. But that price is the market value as set by our valuers. And you're right, you're correct about the query there, and thanks very much. You raised that earlier on. I met and spoke with that group, Drimna Dynamic, around their concerns for the parking up the laneway, but I think we've allayed their concerns, and Oakley Housing are looking forward to working with that group if and when they get on the ground there and meet with all the local community groups. 24 months is the average length it takes for a development. I suppose in this instance, the developer will be tied on the basis of how quickly our legals can get this disposal through. We'd hope to get the whole thing through from here to City Council and then up to legals maybe in 3 months. And at that point, he'll have full control of the site and he can start his construction then. But that's a kind of an average build time, and I'm aware there's been a lot of delays with this one. We had a previous approved housing body who was interested in acquiring it, and it turned out they couldn't, so it was an issue with their funding at the time. So I suppose we want to kind of move it on at this stage, and I hear your issue there around the price, but that was set by our valuers.
I simply raised these issues, Aisling, because I wanted them noted, and I have every confidence in your skill and ability to see this one through. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Pat, and thanks, Aisling. And I agree with his complimentary comments, Aisling. So can we read it? Agreed. Okay, thank you. And Sundrive Road, agreed? Agreed. Okay, thanks very much. The grant to the Pierce Park Community Garden, Councillor Dunn.
It's wonderful to see a community initiative like this having been so successful, and an awful lot of stakeholders have bought into it. Our parks section have cooperated greatly with the community, and it's been very successful to date, even though it's at its early stages. So that, I totally support the 5-year licence, and the terms and conditions are fine. The Bloom & Crumlin and the committee that's running the community garden have been seeking for some time to have electricity supply into the container that they have there, and they need that for very, very simple things. Even things like somebody could spend a day on the allotments there. They need somewhere maybe to charge their telephone, to be able to make a cup of tea, and all those type of things. My understanding is that there's an agreement with the area office and the park section, but there seems to be delays in having it completed. So maybe the manager could see if we could speed up that process of getting the electricity supply into that container.
Okay, thanks, Pat. And I understand Breed Roslin is here to deal with any questions on this. I was just reading the report though. I mean, do we have to have all these rules in the disposal? I mean, 37 of them of the most minor points imaginable. Breed, do you want to say anything, or are we happy to move on?
I'll come in there, yeah. Pat, we're in discussion with the group, and it's just really trying to figure out what the best way is to future-proof the ESB connection. So we are in discussion with them, and we'll come back to you when we have an agreement or figured out an agreed kind of way forward with it, okay?
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Breed, and it proposed licence approved, yeah? Recommend to council. Okay, we're moving on to item 5, and if I take it that the item 5.4, the Ainger Street use is deferred for a month, but could you come to the manager with precisely what you're looking for, so that it's not fair to hold off people? Okay, right. Item 1, report of the executive manager. Anybody want to come in? And by the way, for those of you who came late, we're taking the emergency motion on Sean Moore Park at the beginning of motions, okay? Anybody, well, do you want to just note the manager's report? Okay, well, can I just, if I could find my notes here somewhere, just a couple of small things myself. One, just to welcome the huge range of stuff in the report. There's a couple of references to the Moby bikes. It really is beginning to be unsatisfactory. I was in Sandymount the other night, and there were 19 Moby bikes attached to 4 stands. I went in around the village, and there were 49 Moby bikes taking up virtually all of the other stands in the place. And I suppose my own beef is that I couldn't lock my own bike to the stand, and it was robbed because it was full of Moby bikes. I could only lock it by the front wheel, and the guy came along. Believe it or not, for anybody who has a bike like me, the guy was caught on CCTV with a helmet on him, walking along the street with a spare wheel. He arrived at my bike, unlocked the front wheel, clicked on his spare wheel, and then cycled away, all in the space of about 2 or 3 minutes. So just be wary. I really welcome the progress on Rathmines Avenue, the proposals, and maybe the manager could fill in the councillors from both sides of the road, because that's where the division is on the plans for Rathmines Avenue, but it looks good to me. To thank the manager for a huge amount of work on Sandymount pedestrianisation. I know there's still a few issues, but they're resolvable, all of them, and maybe we should meet earlier next year to start talking about them. On the Big Grill, I was infuriated that neither Parks nor the Big Grill made any attempt to contact councillors in relation to Big Grill. I was really annoyed. It's a huge big event, takes over half the park, and we were told nothing about it. And finally, and just to say that I'm sort of in no great hurry since I first raised this in 2007, but maybe the Parks Department could move a little bit quicker on the columbarium walls that in the graveyard in Donnybrook, that they've been telling me nearly every month for the last 2 years